Does this remind you of anything? If you're a sports fan and you got a few years under your belt, you might remember the guy that had the rainbow-colored afro wig who somehow managed to score great seats at many sporting events. And then here we are in the big inning, the pitcher's ready, and when the camera's aimed there, he starts holding up this sign. Or it's a big football game, they're going for the game-winning field goal. There he is, holding up this sign. It was his way, of course, of proclaiming the good news by inviting readers to watchers to turn towards the gospel passage we just heard. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he sent his only Son, that whoever believed in him might not perish, but might have life eternal. Now, personally, I found the guy kind of annoying. Yeah. Dude, just let me get through an inning without having to look at your mug. But be that as it may, the news is incredibly good. But I would suggest this. More important than, and as valuable as it is, turning people to read those words in John 3:16. More important than that is that people can read those words in our faces. More important than getting people to open the Bible, as good as that is that people can hear the good news by our words. As valuable as it is to have people read through the scriptures, even more important than that is that the good news comes alive by how you live and by how I live. Certainly, life is often hard. I talked to a parishioner this week who is having trouble sleeping because he had to lay some people off at work, and he knows the hardship it will cause to those families. He said, Father, I fought for their jobs. I gave them the best severance package I could, but I felt like I had to do it. And now I keep laying in bed at night. And I know that there are people here, this very moment, who have recently lost their jobs and are scared. And we never have a weekend mass without people walking through the door who have a relative or perhaps themselves just received difficult diagnosis or in some sort of trouble at school, had a relationship end, or just buried a loved one. And into all that pain comes John 3:16. God so loved the world that he sent his only Son. Why? That we might have life now and at the hour of our death. There's life at the hour of our death, and there's life now. And yet, how will people believe that unless they find it in how we live? Scares me to think somebody could walk through the doors here with a broken heart and not sense something of a welcome in us. Or that somebody could come here frightened and not see in our faces when we sing that we believe in something beyond this pain. Or that people could come here in any kind of turmoil and not sense by our care that love is alive in this world. The journalist Bill Moyers was interviewing Joseph Campbell on his book, The Hero's Journey. He talked about masculine spirituality. At one point he asked him, "And do you have faith?" And he chuckled. He says, "It's hardly faith for me because I've experienced it." I'm not sure I would have used those exact words, but here's his point. It's less of a leap of faith to trust that God is forgiving if I've experienced forgiveness through people in my life. It's less of a leap of faith for me to believe that love is alive when I've been loved. It's less of a leap of faith for me to believe that there is a reason to stay true if I've seen it and been encouraged and had people right around me who've lived it. I have a sign too. Now, you're not going to see me hold it up, especially at a ball game, especially with those kind of seats. And you can probably not see it from where you are now. But this sign sits on my desk right next to my computer monitor so that I look at it all day. It's a quote from one of my heroes, St. Francis of Assisi. And the words are this: preach the gospel always. It's my job, right? Preach the gospel always. And then it says, if necessary, use words. And that's not just my job. That's your job. We are to proclaim the good news by our lives. And sometimes, if necessary, to use words. And I want you to hear this, that I am sorry for any time, any encounter you had with me that you did not encounter the good news of a loving and compassionate God. If I was ever, too distracted or controlling or worried about stuff that doesn't matter, all of which I'm capable of, I'm sorry. And I want to say, yeah, but don't let that get in the way of your trust of the goodness of God who is so much bigger than me. But I know that it does on some level, because that's my responsibility, to witness to the world the goodness of this God I've come to love. And I also want to say thanks to you for all the ways that you have shown good news. To me personally, of course, but even much more so as I see you do it to each other. As I watch you, when someone is grieving, sit in their pain with them. Talked to a man this morning whose son died not too long ago, who's now at the bedside of another teenager who's in a coma, because he knows that pain and how important it is to be there, that loving presence. Or all the times that maybe nobody ever saw, where you had a cool wash rag on the forehead of a sick person. Or all the efforts that are part of our parish to feed those who are hungry, and provide a voice for those who are vulnerable. The other night I sat there as people in a new bereavement group shared the stories of their pain and the willingness of people to sit in it with each other and to be in solidarity. All of that gives witness to the good news that there is life now and at the hour of our death, even in the darkest times, for that is ours to proclaim. And I no longer see the guy in the rainbow wig holding up the John 3:16 sign at any sporting events. Another level, I think to myself, it's actually less important that we know John 3:16, and more important that people know the truth that John 3:16 holds, because they've seen it in our lives. Hello, well, hello, buddy. How are you? I'm great. You're great. Oh, glad to hear it. So, Big Al, I've got a question for you. Go ahead. Well, how would you describe your sister to someone who never met her? Duh. Duh what? Duh. She's annoying. She's annoying. Okay, I hear you. Well, Big Al, I do think it tends to be true that the people we live with are going to be the ones that get on our nerves the most, don't you think? But let me ask you this. What if she was really sick? Or scared or sad or maybe in the hospital? How would you feel then? I'd feel bad. You'd feel bad? Well, why, Big Al? Deep down what? I love her. You love her, don't you? Yeah, I thought you did. It's just sometimes we forget that almost. And we forget to say it. And part of our job is to say the good news, Big Al, and that's why I'm proud of you for writing that book of prayers. You helped. I'm glad I helped. A little. I did my part, okay. But anyway, Big Al, maybe, since family's hard for everybody, we should pray that first prayer now that you wrote. What do you think? Let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Oh, Big Al, that's very nice. She's still annoying. Okay, I get that. I'd be maybe not going out on much of a limb here if I suggested that she's not the only one in that family annoying. Well, we can talk about that later. So anyway, well, Big Al, I'm glad that you remembered that deep down you love her. Sometimes we got to remember the deep down good news and proclaim it with our lives. What do you think? Go, Mizzou. Boys and girls, if you've got a brother or a sister, I'll bet you understand sometimes they're annoying. Even your mom or your dad could be, and maybe even you could be. But let's remember the deep down good news of love, alive in our homes and in this world.